What if I told you that the biggest disappointment of your life might actually be the beginning of your greatest blessing? Think about that for a moment. The rejection that broke your heart, the opportunity you lost, the relationship that ended, the dream that didn't work out. What if none of it was random? What if the things you call setbacks today are actually setting you up for something far greater tomorrow? Most people spend their lives asking one question: why is this happening to me? But perhaps the better question is, what is this preparing me for? Because when we look back at our lives, we often discover something extraordinary. The moments that seemed like failures became lessons. The delays became preparation. The closed doors led us to better opportunities. And the struggles we wanted to avoid became the very experiences that shaped who we are today. So if you're currently facing uncertainty, if you're waiting for answers, if you're wondering whether your life has any direction or purpose, then this video is for you. Today, we're going to explore one of the most powerful ideas found across the world's greatest spiritual traditions. The idea that God has a plan for your life. Not a plan that removes every challenge. Not a plan that guarantees a life without pain, but a plan that can transform your struggles into strength, your confusion into clarity, and your setbacks into stepping stones toward a greater purpose. By the end of this video, you'll understand why challenges appear, what delays might actually mean, how to discover your unique purpose, and how to trust the journey even when you can't see where the road leads. So stay with me, because one insight in this video might completely change the way you look at your life and help you realize that your story is unfolding in ways you never imagined. Before we can trust God's plan, we must first understand what that phrase truly means. Many people hear the words, "God has a plan for you," and imagine a detailed script already written from beginning to end, where every event, every choice, and every outcome is fixed. But when we look deeper into the world's spiritual traditions, we discover a much richer and more meaningful perspective. God's plan is often less about controlling every step of your journey and more about guiding you toward who you are meant to become. In the Bible, we find a powerful promise in Jeremiah 29 verse 11. "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Notice that this verse does not reveal every detail of the journey. Instead, it reassures us about the destination, a future filled with hope and purpose. Similarly, in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna does not tell Arjuna exactly how every moment of his life will unfold. Rather, he teaches him how to act with courage, wisdom, and faith in the face of uncertainty. The lesson is clear. We are not meant to know everything in advance. We are meant to walk forward with trust. Think of it this way. God's plan is not like a GPS that reveals every turn before you take it. It is more like a compass. A compass does not show the entire route, but it always points you in the right direction. Along the way, you still make choices, encounter challenges, and learn important lessons. This understanding also helps us appreciate the role of free will. Many spiritual traditions teach that while God may have a purpose for our lives, we are still responsible for the decisions we make. Our choices matter. Our actions matter. We are active participants in our own journey, not passive observers. The Quran reminds believers that God is the best of planners. This doesn't mean that every difficulty is sent as punishment or that every success is guaranteed. Instead, it suggests that even the events we don't understand can become part of a greater story, one that may only make sense when viewed from a higher perspective. As seekers, our challenge is not to figure out every detail of the plan. Our challenge is to trust that there is meaning beyond what we can currently see. Faith begins where complete understanding ends. And perhaps that is one of life's greatest lessons. You do not need to see the entire staircase to take the next step. Sometimes all that is required is the courage to move forward, trusting that each step is leading you exactly where you need to be. One of the most difficult questions every seeker asks is this: if God has a plan for me, why does that plan include pain? Why do good people suffer? Why do dreams fall apart? Why do we experience loss, rejection, disappointment, and heartbreak? These questions have echoed through human history for thousands of years. Philosophers have debated them. Spiritual teachers have reflected upon them. And ordinary people have wrestled with them during their darkest moments. While no single answer can fully explain every form of suffering, many spiritual traditions point toward a profound truth. Challenges are often not obstacles to God's plan. They are part of it. Think about the strongest trees in a forest. They do not become strong because they are protected from every storm. They become strong because they endure the wind. The resistance they face forces their roots to grow deeper into the earth. Human beings are much the same. Our greatest growth often emerges from our greatest struggles. The Bible provides a powerful example through the story of Joseph. As a young man, Joseph dreamed of a promising future. Yet before reaching that future, he was betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused of a crime he did not commit, and thrown into prison. At every stage, it would have been easy to conclude that God had abandoned him. But years later, Joseph rose to a position of influence and was able to save countless lives during a devastating famine. Looking back, the events that seemed unfair and meaningless became stepping stones toward a purpose far greater than he could have imagined. This pattern appears throughout spiritual history. Before attaining enlightenment, the Buddha encountered suffering and human pain. Before receiving divine wisdom on the battlefield, Arjuna experienced confusion, fear, and inner conflict. Before leading a movement that transformed the world, Prophet Muhammad endured rejection, hardship, and persecution. The message is consistent. Transformation often begins where comfort ends. Even modern psychology supports this insight. Researchers use the term post-traumatic growth to describe how many individuals emerge from adversity with greater resilience, wisdom, gratitude, and clarity about what truly matters in life. Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, observed this reality firsthand. In his famous book Man's Search for Meaning, he argued that people can endure tremendous suffering when they discover meaning within it. This does not mean pain is good. It does not mean suffering should be celebrated. And it certainly does not mean every tragedy happens for a simple reason. Rather, it means that even in our most painful experiences, growth remains possible. Sometimes God calms the storm. Sometimes God allows the storm to strengthen the sailor. The challenge you face today may be developing qualities that success alone could never teach. Patience, courage, compassion, humility, wisdom, strength. Qualities that will one day serve a purpose larger than you currently understand. As seekers, we naturally ask, why is this happening to me? But sometimes a more powerful question is, what is this experience trying to teach me? The answer may not arrive immediately. In fact, many lessons become clear only in hindsight. Yet when we look back on our lives, we often discover that the moments we wish to avoid were the very moments that shaped us into the people we were meant to become. And perhaps that is one of the hidden mysteries of God's plan. The breaking is often part of the building. The struggle is often part of the preparation. And the challenge standing before you today may be preparing you for a future you cannot yet see. Few things test our faith more than waiting. Waiting for an answer. Waiting for an opportunity. Waiting for healing. Waiting for success. Waiting for a prayer to be answered. In a world that celebrates speed and instant gratification, delays can feel incredibly frustrating. We are taught to believe that if something is meant for us, it should happen quickly. And when it doesn't, we often assume that something has gone wrong. We begin to question ourselves. We question our efforts. Sometimes, we even question God. Why is everyone else moving ahead while I seem stuck? Why hasn't my breakthrough come yet? Why does it feel like my prayers are being ignored? If you've ever asked these questions, know that you are not alone. Many of the greatest spiritual figures in history experienced long seasons of waiting before their purpose was revealed. Abraham waited years for the fulfillment of God's promise. Moses spent decades in the wilderness before becoming a leader. Joseph endured years of imprisonment before rising to greatness. Even in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna's journey toward wisdom begins not with immediate clarity, but with confusion, doubt, and a process of gradual understanding. These stories remind us that delay does not mean abandonment. Often, it means preparation. Consider how nature operates. A farmer plants a seed, but the harvest does not appear the next day. Beneath the surface, invisible work is taking place. Roots are forming. The seed is developing. Growth is happening long before it becomes visible. The same principle often applies to our lives. There are seasons when it feels as though nothing is happening. Yet beneath the surface, important transformations may be taking place within us. Perhaps your patience is being strengthened. Perhaps your character is being refined. Perhaps skills are being developed that you will need in the future. Or perhaps circumstances beyond your awareness are aligning in ways you cannot yet see. One of the most difficult spiritual lessons is learning to trust what is happening behind the scenes. The book of Ecclesiastes teaches us that there is a season for everything under heaven. A time to plant, a time to grow, a time to harvest. Problems arise when we demand harvest during a planting season. We become frustrated because we judge the process before it is complete. Think of a sculptor creating a masterpiece from a block of marble. If the marble could speak, it might complain about every strike of the chisel. It would not understand why pieces are being removed. Yet the sculptor sees something the marble cannot see, a beautiful creation hidden within. Likewise, there are moments when God may be shaping parts of your life that you cannot yet understand. The delay that frustrates you today may be protecting you from something you are not ready for, or it may be preparing you for something greater than you currently imagine. Many people discover this truth only in hindsight. Years later, they look back and realize that what felt like rejection was actually redirection. What felt like a closed door was protection. What felt like being forgotten was preparation. The opportunity they desperately wanted at one stage of life would have been overwhelming had it arrived too soon. Timing mattered, not because they were being punished, but because they were being prepared. As seekers, we often focus on getting what we want. Yet spiritual wisdom invites us to focus on becoming who we need to be. Because sometimes the blessing is not delayed. Sometimes the blessing is waiting for the right version of you. So if you find yourself in a season of waiting, do not assume that nothing is happening. Growth is not always visible. Progress is not always obvious. And God's work is not always immediate. Keep moving forward. Keep learning. Keep trusting. Because a delay is not always a denial. Sometimes it is simply divine timing at work. And when the moment finally arrives, you may discover that everything unfolded exactly when it needed to. At some point in life, almost every person asks a deeply personal question. Why am I here? Beyond our daily responsibilities, beyond our careers, achievements, and ambitions, there exists a deeper longing within the human heart, the desire to know that our lives matter. We want to know that our existence serves a purpose, that we are here for a reason, that our journey is part of something meaningful. Yet one of the greatest misconceptions about purpose is the belief that it arrives suddenly like a lightning bolt from the sky. Many people spend years waiting for a dramatic revelation, a clear sign, or a single life-changing moment that will reveal exactly what they are meant to do. But for most people, purpose does not arrive all at once. It unfolds gradually. It reveals itself one step at a time. Think about walking through a dense forest at night with a lantern. The lantern does not illuminate the entire path ahead. It only provides enough light for the next few steps. As you continue moving forward, more of the path becomes visible. Purpose often works the same way. You discover it by living, learning, growing, and paying attention to what repeatedly calls your heart. The Bhagavad Gita offers a powerful lesson on this subject. Lord Krishna teaches Arjuna that it is better to perform one's own duty imperfectly than to perform another person's duty perfectly. This teaching carries profound wisdom. Many people spend their lives comparing themselves to others. They look at someone else's success and assume that they should follow the same path. They try to imitate another person's calling instead of discovering their own. But comparison often pulls us away from our purpose. You were not created to be someone else. You were created to become the fullest version of yourself. Every person possesses a unique combination of talents, experiences, strengths, passions, and lessons. No one else in history has lived your exact life. No one else sees the world exactly as you do. And because of that, No one else can contribute exactly what you can contribute. The Japanese concept of ikigai, often translated as reason for being, suggests that purpose exists at the intersection of four important elements: what you love, what you are good at, what the world needs, and what allows you to serve others. When these elements begin to overlap, purpose starts to emerge. Notice that purpose is not solely about personal happiness, nor is it solely about achievement. At its deepest level, purpose is connected to service. Throughout history, the individuals who left the greatest impact were often those who focused not only on what they could gain from life, but on what they could give. Mother Teresa found purpose through serving the poor. Mahatma Gandhi found purpose through nonviolent leadership. Nelson Mandela found purpose through perseverance and justice. Yet purpose does not require global recognition. Not everyone is called to stand on a world stage. Some people change lives through teaching, others through parenting, others through creating art, others through acts of kindness that may never appear in history books. The size of your audience does not determine the value of your purpose. A single encouraging word can transform someone's day. A mentor can change the direction of a young person's life. A caring parent can shape generations. A compassionate friend can become a source of healing during someone's darkest season. Never underestimate the significance of seemingly small acts. Purpose is often found in ordinary moments lived with extraordinary intention. So how can you begin discovering your own purpose? Start by asking yourself a few honest questions. What activities make me feel most alive? What kind of problems am I naturally drawn to solve? What strengths do others consistently recognize in me? What values matter most deeply to my heart? What kind of impact would I like to leave behind? You do not need all the answers today. Purpose is not a destination you arrive at overnight. It is a journey of continual discovery. And perhaps the most important thing to remember is this: your purpose is not something you must create from nothing. It is something you uncover. Like a treasure buried beneath the surface, it has been there all along. Every experience, every lesson, every challenge, and every gift you have received may be pointing you toward it. God's plan for your life is not about becoming someone else. It is about becoming fully and authentically who you were created to be. And when you begin walking in alignment with that purpose, life gains a deeper sense of meaning, direction, and fulfillment one step at a time. One of the most common questions sincere seekers ask is, if God has a plan for me, how do I know when He is guiding me? It's a beautiful question, and it's one that people have asked throughout history. Many of us secretly hope that guidance will arrive in dramatic ways. We imagine a loud voice from the heavens, a miraculous sign, or a moment of absolute certainty where every doubt suddenly disappears. But in reality, divine guidance is often much quieter than we expect. More subtle, more gentle, more patient. The challenge is not that God never guides us. The challenge is that we are often too distracted to notice. Modern life constantly competes for our attention. Our minds are filled with notifications, deadlines, worries, opinions, comparisons, and endless streams of information. Amid all this noise, the quiet wisdom that seeks to guide us can easily go unheard. This is why nearly every spiritual tradition emphasizes the importance of stillness. In the Bible, we find the words, "Be still and know that I am God." Notice the instruction. Be still, not rush, not force, not panic. Stillness creates space for clarity. Similarly, in Eastern spiritual traditions, meditation is practiced not merely as a relaxation technique, but as a way of quieting the mind so deeper wisdom can emerge. When the surface of a lake is disturbed, it cannot reflect clearly. When the water becomes calm, everything becomes visible. The same is true of the human mind. Many times, guidance appears when we become quiet enough to listen.